Human Resources and Appointments and Equities Committee meeting of this Tuesday, November 15th. Roll call, please.
Good morning, everyone. As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Ms. Baker. Ms. Baker is absent. Mr. Gallagher?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Sweeney? Ms. Conwell?
Present.
You have a quorum.
Public comment?
No public comment has been received.
Thank you. Committee, in your packets, you received the meeting minutes of the November 1st meeting. If they're in order, I'll accept the motion and a second.
So moved.
Second, Conwell.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Matters referred to committee, Resolution 2022-0408.
Resolution 2022-0408, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Med Mutual Life Insurance Company for group life, voluntary life, and accidental death insurance for county employees for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2023, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $1,871,168.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to find the green button. Good morning. My name is Sheba Marshall. I'm the Director for Human Resources. And the item before you concerns the health insurance that the county provides our employees on an employer-paid basis. The contract went from will end in December 31st, 2022. And we went out for an RFP to select a new vendor or select the current vendor. In the interim, I decided not to continue with the RFP process. The reason being for three different things. First, we're looking at our total rewards package that we're offering employees, and I know that life insurance is one way to add a benefit to employees. I didn't want to make that kind of decision whether we would increase our employer-provided life insurance to our employees without having the next administration weigh in, being that it was going to start on January 1, 2023. Second, we're making two changes to our our dental insurance, which you'll hear, and we're making a change to our flexible spending account. And I just didn't want to compound all of those different changes with adding the life insurance. So I'm asking that we approve this so that we can continue the life insurance that we have for one more year. And then I'll be in conversation with our new executive team to talk about what kind of things we like to do with our life insurance as it relates to our total rewards package.
Question, Mr.
Questions?
Chair. So, through the chair to
Yes, ma'am.
Director, what would have, I understand why you didn't want to move forward. If you had moved forward, would it have locked us in for like 3 years?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just a couple. Sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, nice seeing you.
Thank you.
Just a
Morning.
couple questions. When did you decide to not continue the RFP?
Oh,
About a while ago?
yeah, it was a little while ago.
Because there's not much of a window through the chair to put an RFP out and get it back and get it in signed before the end of the year. So was it last year?
No, we did it this year. We did an RFP and it closed on August 10th.
Okay.
And then as we're thinking about the changes that are coming, some of the things we like to do as it related to total rewards, benefits to employees that are not monetary. I started to look, and that was part of the RFP, asking them to provide proposals if we were to offer employees more than the $10,000 that we offer as an employer-paid life insurance. What might that cost? What philosophy are we using to make that decision? And I thought it would just be prudent to hold that for one more year instead of going 3 and have those discussions.
Yeah, my question was just the August
August 10th.
date gave you plenty of time to close it,
Oh, yes.
but, because I was thinking it was closer to that, would have been hard to close anyways. But it was a
Yeah.
normal process.
Yes.
After you started assessing everything with your team,
Yes.
it became evident that prudent, slow down, let the new administration come in and work it out.
Absolutely.
Okay, and my last question with the medical and the reimbursable accounts?
Yes.
You said there's going to be a change?
Yes.
Tell me, because is it raising the amounts?
Well, the amounts raised through the IRS, the amount did raise to $3,050. But normally what our employees have is an opportunity to spend their flexible spending account dollars for 2022 through March 15th of 2023. And so that's a grace period process. We moved to a process where you can carry over 10% of the allotted amount by the IRS. So since it's $2,850, employees can now carry over $570 of their 2022 funds into 2023, and they don't have to have those spent by March 15th. They can carry over through the entire year of 2023. So we're being very careful to communicate to our employees that have a flexible spending account to get those dollars spent by December 31st, 2023, but they can still save $570 into the next year, and they still have until May 31st to file for any claims, adjustments, and reimbursements. So that part didn't change. Only what's changing is that March 15th date.
And through the chair, thank you, because this is one of the first conversations we ever had.
It was, and I took it into consideration, and I talked with our vendor that handles that for us, and they have a lot of clients that do that, and employees seem to be better at handling having this amount of money to carry over rather than trying to wait till March 13th and then buy Band-Aids and aspirins and whatever else to get the dollars spent.
Through the chair, you said 10% of the maximum of the IRS.
Yes.
That 10%, is it a set rate or 10% of what you committed to?
No, it's 10% of the IRS rate. So next year will be, what, $610 because it's $3,050. So 23 going into 24, employees will be able to carry over $610.
So if they just go up to the 600 amount,
Yes.
they're covered no matter what.
They're covered, yeah, they can have it that year and the next.
That's
Correct.
beautiful. So once again, thank you. And then the key to this is the notification.
Yes.
We have, I'm guessing, 10%
You're about right, yes.
medical and
Yes.
maybe 30% dependent care.
Yeah.
Because it's more consistent.
With the dependent care, yeah.
Wouldn't it be beautiful if everybody was
Yeah.
excited about it, and this is a step in protecting and giving the comfort level that they can do it?
And it's such a good benefit. It comes out per pay. You're not slammed all at once with this huge deduction, or if you have prescriptions that you have to fill on a regular basis, it just helps to have that card, roll it in. You're not trying to find dough in your pockets. I think it's a wonderful benefit, so we're really working hard on our communication.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me go a little bit deeper, but I think it's important.
Mr. Sweeney, if you could speak louder into the microphone, that would be greatly appreciated. We could hardly hear you.
0 for 2. Maybe tomorrow.
Thank
Get better.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Any further
Mr.
questions?
Chairman.
Mr. Miller?
To the director, how many responses did we get to the August 10th closing on the RFP?
I'm going to ask Stephen real quick, because he just told me. 6.
And what changes to the life insurance are we contemplating? If you decided to increase it, what number might you have in mind?
Well, I asked the vendors to provide me numbers anywhere between 10 and 50. 50 is just standard because it's at the point that no imputed income is charged to an employee's income. So usually if an employer is going to provide employer-paid insurance, it's to the amount of about $50,000. So I'm asking anywhere between 10 and 50,000 because that won't impact employees' imputed income.
Okay, thank you.
Contract started, the specific one. Were you interim director at that time?
I was not.
Okay. And are the employers in danger of their total rewards package? Any of these benefits not moving forward with the next administration?
I don't think so. This was just another benefit as we're looking at total compensation. What can we offer our employees that's not necessarily money? What else can we offer them? And life insurance is usually a pretty good product.
But that's a cost to us, correct?
But that's a cost to the employer, yes.
Okay, so with insurance, I'm just trying to think from an employee standpoint, if they're utilizing the insurance, would it impact them in any way in making decisions since if they're not sure that flexible spending will be involved or life insurance is probably a standard, but the flexible spending. I'm just wondering from their standpoint, by us just amending it and keeping it for a year instead of it being a solid, would that impact them in any way?
It will not. It'll just continue with the insurance that they have right now. No employees can enroll up to the amount of 500,000. Employees that are currently on the insurance during open enrollment, they had the opportunity to pick an additional amount or keep it the same, which would have happened with the new vendor. So nothing really would have changed had we not we didn't make any changes to the life insurance.
Okay, and then one final question, the life insurance, I believe we give, what, 10,000 right now?
Correct.
So, that's a big leap if we gave everyone up to 50,000.
Well, that's a discussion, which is why I didn't move forward, because it's a discussion I wanted to have with the next administration. I mean, what have they seen? What are their philosophies? What do they think about this as something to be increased, to be added to our total rewards package?
Which would be a benefit for, I guess, us in terms of trying to keep employees and
Yeah.
retain.
It might be something that's important to employees and prospective hires.
Okay, thank you.
So, Director, is the insurance term insurance that only pays off if the employee dies while they're employed by the county?
Yes.
Or is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, anything further? Looking at the time, and I assume 8, 9, and 10 are commingled together?
Yeah.
Is there any necessity to move these forward immediately? We do have time under our schedule, under 3 readings.
Yes, I think so. I don't see why we need to go to second reading suspension.
If everyone's comfortable with Resolution 2022-0408, I would ask for a motion to move it to the council for second reading.
I move to favorably recommend 2022-0408 to the full council for second reading at the next meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second, Conwell.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you very much.
Resolution
09.
Yes. Resolution 2022-0409, making an award on requisition 9686 to Vision Service Plan in the amount not to exceed $1,500,000 for vision insurance for county employees and their eligible dependents for the period January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2025.
Once again, Director Marshall, this is our vision coverage. We did go out for an RFP. We did receive, in this one, we received 8 responses for our vision. We chose not to change it. The amount to change the vendor, the amount offered by the other vendors was minimal compared to what we have now. And when we look at disruption, it was not feasible to the county to change for the VSP plan. So we're recommending that we continue keeping our current vision coverage. Changing.
Just want to know, who is our current vision?
Oh, VSP.
VSP.
Hearing nothing further, if everyone's comfortable, you're,
I have a question.
yes, sir.
I found that the vision plans typically provide benefits that are only partially insurance. I mean, typically they only cover half of your expenses or something like that. And my question is, are there plans out there that provide more comprehensive coverage, or is that standard in the industry?
It's standard. I mean, you can look to add different coverages to your plan. You can customize a plan, any plan, vision, dental, health insurance. You can customize the plan. It's just a cost to the county to do that. And we can have those discussions moving forward as it relates to the different types of benefits. Anytime we do a renewal, you meet with the vendor who you've selected, and they will always talk about products that you could add that would be more beneficial, but it's always at a cost. So we chose to continue with the current plan for now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just, you chose to wait for the first one, but the next 2, you're choosing to sign up for a 3-year.
Yes.
Can you tell me just why?
Well, they've provided us a good service. We're not hearing anything from our employees. And, I mean, each contract we can look at, there's a clause in each one that we can look at the end of a year, with a 30-day out clause, I believe.
No, but you're
But,
just
but we're
comfortable
going
with it.
for 3 years. I mean, they provided a good service, they provided some savings, and we didn't see any reason, as disruption counts, we didn't see any reason to have to change.
Through the chair, just basically, it's not that, it's working well,
Yes,
and the new administration coming in will probably do the same thing in this one, because it's not too complicated.
Yes.
And you're actually trying to do them a favor.
yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, if everyone's comfortable, I'll accept the motion for 2022-0409
So moved?
to the full council for a second reading.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you. 410.
Resolution 2022-0410, making an award on requisition 9659 to Delta Dental Plan of Ohio, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $9 million for dental insurance for county employees and their eligible dependents for the period January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2025.
Good morning again. So we're on the Delta Dental, we're on the dental contract, and in this contract, we did in fact choose to make a difference. We selected Delta Dental going forward January 1, 2023, as they were able to provide a broader network, a wider range of dentists, and they're able to provide a savings of roughly $323,000 over the life of the contract.
Questions? Yes, ma'am.
So it's prudent for us to want to save money, just looking from the employee standpoint. Were most of those dental providers the same as in the previous contract, so they wouldn't lose their care going forward with who they were comfortable with?
Absolutely. One key component of an RFP is looking at disruption. And we have probably a 94% match as it related to the providers in the network. And an employee simply, when they go to their dentist, they'll ask if they're a Delta Dental dentist.
Okay.
And they can find out fairly quickly. And they can ask that question now to say that, we're changing plans, we're going to Delta Dental. And I bet the majority of our employees will find that they're going to a Delta Dental in-network provider already.
And through the chair to the director, what changes have occurred in this, in switching providers other than the monetary part?
The services are the same, except where the employees may see a discount that they would get, they would see a greater discount. So maybe sometimes the cost to the employee might be less. That's one of the things that we looked at. And like I said, more dentists in the area, more dentists for the employees to have access to.
I've never heard of Delta. Now, since we're switching, they will get us those insurance cards?
Yes.
Out right away?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Only because I'm affected by the vision and dental, so I got to be on it. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's one of the things we ask when we're talking about an implementation timeline. When do we have to have information to them so that they can have cards to our employees by January 1?
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to know for the record, Council President Jones is in attendance. If everybody is comfortable, Resolution 2022-0410 to the full council for second reading.
Did we move? Did we?
I'll accept the motion.
Oh, I'll move.
Ma'am?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? That was easy.
Yes, thank you.
2022-0010.
Ordinance 2022-0010, providing for adoption of modifications of Cuyahoga County non-bargaining salary Schedule A, and authorizing various salary changes for unclassified employees.
Good morning.
Ma'am.
Rebecca Kopczynski for the Personnel Review Commission. As you know, the county charter assigns the PRC with responsibility for administration of a countywide salary administration system for the classified non-bargaining employees of the charter government. Part of that responsibility involves ensuring that the salary system remains relevant to salaries paid for similar positions in a comparable labor market. That aspect of our system hasn't been reassessed since 2005. with the exception of a small-scale study of the IT positions on salary Schedule A, or salary Schedule B in 2021, sorry. Like many other employers, the county has been under extraordinary pressure to recruit and retain employees. So we decided earlier this year it was time to start to analyze the market relevance of the county's pay rates on salary Schedule A. To that end, earlier this year, we collaborated with the Human Resources Department to engage the Archer Company to conduct a salary survey of 45 benchmark positions to compare the public and nonprofit agencies, to compare with the public and nonprofit agencies from the local region. The benchmark positions included jobs from all of the county's job families, and from pay grades throughout the salary structure, which you might recall includes 30 different pay grades. Upon the consultant's recommendation, the entities that were surveyed included 6 comparable counties from around Ohio, the state of Ohio, and a number of other agencies in the region, including Cleveland State, Metro Health, and the Sewer District. In addition, the consultant pulled relevant data from 2 salary database services. The consultant was able to collect data from 14 different sources, and from that, he generated a fairly robust set of data upon which he based his recommended changes to salary Schedule A. Those recommendations were posted on the PRC's website in late September and presented to the Personnel Review Commission on October 5th. After their review and some discussion, the PRC adopted the consultant's recommendations and then forwarded that recommendation on to County Council. You all received that communication with attachments. I'm here this morning on behalf of the Personnel Review Commissioners, asking that this committee consider and adopt the recommended changes to salary Schedule A. We're confident that this recommendation, which is based on a great deal of very sound data, will help to ensure that the county's pay rates for the classified non-bargaining positions remain competitive and will go a long way to support the county's efforts to attract and retain a superior workforce to serve the citizens of the Cuyahoga County. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have this morning. I also have Jim Battaglia with me from the Archer Company, and he can answer any questions, especially about the methodology that he used to conduct the survey. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Would it be okay to go ahead and do my introduction? Oh, okay. Thank you. So my name is Sheba Marshall. I am the Director for Human Resources. As you know, it's one of HR's most important responsibilities to recruit and retain qualified employees, to provide a workplace where our employees feel valued and believe their work matters. Across Cuyahoga County, we also seek to provide our agencies and constituents with high-quality customer service and programs. This past year, we have seen, as both our public counterparts and private employers have also seen, the struggle to fill key positions. A salary structure out of sync with the market can hamper recruitment and retention efforts. We've had to explore out-of-the-box strategies to not only fill vacant positions, but also to retain valuable employees. We've heard many times from both job candidates and current employees that our direct compensation is not in line with similar positions in the public sector. Throughout the year, we've hosted hiring events for correction officers, support officers, social service workers, employee and family specialists, and CCOM's emergency call takers. On November 16th, tomorrow, we are hosting a hiring event for senior account clerk with the fiscal department. We acknowledge that compensation is not the county's only challenge. Stories of excessive workloads, inadequate training, and outdated policies and procedures had been brought before this council in times past, some of these just yesterday. However, we do believe that beginning by addressing compensation issues, recruiting, hiring, and retaining additional personnel is a good first step to addressing some of this. As was stated by my colleague Rebecca earlier, after completion of the market study, salary Schedule A with adjusted pay grade minimums, midpoints, and maximum are based on the market data provided by the Archer Company. In our proposed plan, I am requesting the hourly rate for the county's non-bargaining classified and non-bargaining unclassified wages would be increased by an average of 6.44%, except that no employee's salary would be allowed to exceed the maximum, their pay grade maximum. The cost of this increase is approximately a little over $7 million. $2.6 million would come from the general fund, $1.7 million from the HHS levy, and approximately $2.7 million from special revenue funds. We can point to 2 separate occasions where rising wages was a strategy that provided immediate results. First with the corrections officers, and second with social service workers. In both instances, following hiring events, after each wage increase, respectively, we saw an immediate increase in the interest in these positions, and an increase in workers. By mid-October, the county made 50 offers for the social service worker 3 positions in the Division of Children and Family Services from just the hiring event held on October 20th. We are hosting another event tomorrow, as I mentioned earlier. Having a more competitive wage can also equate to raising the level of interest among external candidates. More than half of the applicants for the Social Service 3 position in the Division of Senior and Adult Service have master's degrees in social work and are licensed social workers. Moving forward, it is HR's goal to work more collaboratively and strategically with our law department. As I hope I have indicated, approving the new salary schedule and allocating the dollars needed to increase employee wages is a critical step in improving the county's recruitment efforts, retention efforts, and providing for our employees wages more in step with the market. Thank you for your time.
Through the chair to the director, so this Schedule A it's an ordinance, must occur in order to fulfill what the recent changes that we agreed upon for DCFS and the rate increases?
No.
Ms. Marshall, could you speak into the microphone,
I'm sorry,
please?
no, it doesn't.
Okay.
Council President Jones?
Are these in salary increases captured within the 2023 budget that we heard?
So you mean from yesterday?
Yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are the same numbers that you heard.
Ms. Marshall, into the microphone, thank you.
Yes, they are captured into the numbers that you heard from Director Walter.
Does that also did the budget include the overtime? I think we heard that overtime was not captured. Is that accurate?
We were looking just at the hourly rate, and so the dollars that we mentioned refer strictly to the hourly rate.
But overtime was not yet in the budget.
I don't think so.
The Walter P. is
No,
here.
okay,
It's not.
no.
Do you have a sense or give you a sense of how much the overtime was, and maybe just give me one department, the social workers, how much overtime has historically been generated in a yearly or biennial period, however you want to qualify it, just to help me get a sense of what this year's overtime might be like.
Yeah, we didn't do that as part of this study.
Okay. Yeah, these are Walter P. questions.
So as it relates to your question, what you're referring to is bargaining unit employees, and this does not impact any of the bargaining unit employees. Non-bargaining, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Next question, just generally, you made the comment that wages are not the only factor, maybe,
Right.
but not the only one. Excessive workloads, inadequate training.
Yes.
Maybe briefly just tell us if you or how you are addressing those.
So as part of this process, we're looking at, we need more workers. And we need more workers to want the jobs, and we need them to want the jobs at a wage they think they can live with. And we're seeing that the wages is part of the problem. The inadequate, you heard yesterday about the excessive workloads that employees have. They don't have enough, Director Fletcher, they don't have enough personnel to distribute some of those workloads further out because of the number of employees that they have. We're hoping that increasing the wages is sending a message to people, I'll just say people, that they want to work here and that we have jobs that they want and that we're going to pay them a wage that's fair and that they'll want to work in areas where we need help and they'll want to work for the county. So we're proposing something that we hope will attract more employees, and in doing that, hopefully divide out some of the workloads, allow for longer training times. Sometimes the training time is cut short because you need them to get out on the floor and get to doing the work so that we can divide that out better. Hopefully this will allow for our employees to have more time in training because we have adequate staff already doing the work. And then as we're able to get them on the floor, get them doing the job, get them out in the field, the workloads decrease, the caseloads decrease, the training improves, morale goes up with all of that.
Okay, all right, thank you, Deb.
You're
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Kopczynski, when you determine the pay grade of a classified position, is the pay grade determined by the level and difficulty of the responsibilities, or is it determined by what the appropriate compensation level is?
Do you mean in the market? When you say the appropriate compensation level in the market? Is that what you're talking about?
Let me rephrase the question and try again.
Thank you.
I know that from time to time you do a review of positions, and sometimes the pay grade is changed.
That's
And
correct.
so you have a process of determining what the appropriate pay grade should be. And my question is whether your determination of pay grade is more related to the level of the market level of compensation that's appropriate, or is your determination of pay grade more related to the level of responsibilities that the position includes?
Thank you. To the councilman through the chair. I can answer that question honestly by saying this, it's actually a combination. What the consultant uses is a point factor analysis where every job is subjected to an analysis where they look at the different levels of responsibility and the complexity of the work that's done in that job, and they give that a numerical rating. And that numerical rating results in a quantitative number that's assigned to that classification. That's the basis for the Archer company for assigning it to a particular pay grade. The way that those pay grades are related to the market is when it was originally established, and Jim can elaborate on this, I'm sure, but when it was originally established, they did a market survey and they looked at those pay grades and the positions that were in those pay grades to see what they were paying in the market. And those became the midpoints of the salary structure. And that's how the salary structure is built. So it's really a combination.
So, Mr. Chairman, Director, the concern I have is that that a position that involves the same amount of responsibility may pay more in the marketplace in one field than in another field. I mean, in the case of IT, you even created a totally separate schedule to deal with that. But in the case of the rest of it, what I'm concerned about is that positions that involve equal amount of responsibility and therefore have the same pay grade, some of them may be overpaid compared to the market, some of them may be on target, and some of them may be underpaid. And my question is how you deal with that.
Well, I'm going to answer half of that question, and then I'm going to turn it over to Sheba because the PRC doesn't deal with individual salaries. But I can tell you that, so the class plan consists of 340 pay classifications, 342? Thank you. And so what you're trying to do is develop a salary structure that fits a whole broad range of jobs, right? And so that's why they use a statistical process to sort of develop that line of where the midpoints can be. It is not, that part is an exact science, but the actual development of the pay grades around that structure are more art than science. It does get to the point that you have to craft it to a degree to reflect the fact that it changes, you know, depending on the job category. Now, in the case of the IT positions, and in fact, we're looking at this possibly for the engineering positions as well, when those wages become so difficult to align with where everything else falls, then you start considering whether it makes sense to take those out. create its own individual salary structure because you can't reconcile it with what's happening with the rest of the market for the other jobs. But to the rest of your question, I'll let Sheba answer.
So is it to the salaries offered employees or to the structure of the salary schedule that's developed? I want to make sure I'm going to answer what you're looking for. Because if it's to how the same or similar, or how so different a job can possibly be in the same job grade, I would defer to Jim Battaglia. If it's as it relates to salary, while we look at employees in a particular salary grade, we also look at their time, their experience, their years of service, and things like that as we're determining the salary as it relates to the market. So I want to make sure that I'm answering the right question.
Well, I think both questions are relevant.
Okay. Does that help answer the question then that you asked?
It helps some.
Okay.
My final question is I know that when the new government came out 11 years ago, salaries were way out of whack because we had separate governments that had wildly different systems, and we inherited that, and we've gradually been trying to get things in line so that we have a compensation system that's equitable, both compared to the marketplace externally and also internally, that there's not discrepancies within where people are being paid significantly differently for similar work. And so my question is on a scale of from 0 to 10, where 0 is we haven't made any progress since the new government started, to 10, which is that we now have a compensation system with the help of this new batch of changes, that we now have a compensation system that's perfectly equitable. Where do you think we are?
So I'm going to say, honestly, about a 7, because I think this brings us in line where we want to be by implementing these kinds of changes. But along the way, and I've not been an employee all of this time, but along the way, I just can hear from my compensation team that along the way, we've been looking at jobs individually. We've been looking at people individually, and we've been trying to provide ways where we're talking about equity and parity, and we're talking about compression. We've been trying to find ways along the way to do one-offs and things like that to bring this more in line where it's a fair and equitable system. The salary schedule matters and makes a difference. So I say that we're at about a 7. There's still work to be done. That government still has some lasting effects that we're still addressing. But I think we're doing a good job, and I think this will really, really help us.
And Ms. Babecka, do you agree with that assessment?
Yes, sir, I do. I think we've made a tremendous amount of progress in bringing standardization to how people across the charter government are paid. And wholly supportive of the comment that you made. There's still things to be done. We need to do an equity analysis, to be honest. But in terms of achieving this internal equity across the organization, I think we've done a great job.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rebecca, it's nice seeing you. I'm going to talk into my microphone. I have a few questions. So first and foremost, thank you. This was a huge undertaking, and the non-bargaining positions for a long time, as you stated, needs to be adjusted. So my first question, when you said everybody in non-bargaining unit will get the 6.44 average, except for the folks that would go above the pay grade line item. Can you tell me, do you believe the 644 should be given to everybody? Pretend like the pay grade line is not there. Through the chair.
I do. I believe that because if we're sending a message when we do this.
Well, I'm good with that answer.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, but just, why don't we just increase the pay grade line? I mean, that's just I've seen it done in many budgets and many opportunities we have. And if we think we need to be there, we need to consider that.
Well, I'm probably going to defer to Mr. Battaglia at this point. The reason that I would say no, and he can come in and
And I want to
provide a
ask him some
different opinion.
questions too.
But because you're still trying to maintain the basic same structure to the pay grade. And our pay grade structure has been for a long time a midpoint with about 20% above the midpoint available and 20% below the midpoint available. And the minute you start etching up those maximums to accommodate particular individuals, bear in mind, there aren't necessarily people in every single pay grade who would exceed the maximum with that 6.44. So you're only talking about a few discrete pay grades. So I would advocate not doing that simply because it's going to eventually lead to a very wacky looking salary structure. That's what I would say.
And through the chair, just the response to that comment, you're the expert in this. I'm just going with common logic. I'm not putting employees or number of people. I'm just going with, there's a group of non-bargaining positions that we're considering giving a 6.44% raise, except for this one group that could be minimal to raise it just a little bit to get to there. And I'd have to take a little bit more time with you to understand how it would put it way out of whack. So I just wanted to throw that out as an observation. And
if I could add one other comment.
Absolutely.
Keep in mind that what we looked at here is the midpoints of these pay grades, right? So anybody who's going to get etched out of that 6.44 is already at a level close to 20% above the midpoint. And that ties back to what's the county administration's philosophy about what they want to pay. Knowing the total rewards package, doesn't make sense to pay people more than 20% above what the market rate is for the job. And I think that's more in Sheba's realm about what the administration's stance is. But
And through the chair, I'll give up on this one in a second. Just, if you believe it's the accurate amount that they should be paid minus the pay band cap, in my eyes, that means that's what the market should be paying these people. So it would go up a little bit to keep it within the market. But if you're using the 20% as a hard, that takes a little bit away from the market value. So thank you for letting me go down that route. And with the gentleman from Archer, could you explain would it be different method? I would like to understand what the methodology was that was being used. Was it different than what Rebecca would have said? Or is it in a Cliff Note version?
Good morning. I'm Jim Battaglia with the Archer Company.
Oh, welcome.
Can you restate the question
Can you
again?
tell me the methodology, it's killing that word, methodology that you used while creating this recommendation?
So our system is a combination of internal equity and external equity. So we conduct the salary survey. We constantly are reviewing job evaluations and pay grade assignments for the non-bargaining classifications. So when we develop the new schedule, we are statistically comparing the salary survey. We have 49 benchmark jobs. We're comparing the midpoint of the salary survey for each benchmark against the internal job evaluation points of those benchmark jobs. And we do that through linear regression analysis. And once we have that pay line, as Rebecca said, we establish a midpoint, a minimum that's 20% below that midpoint, and the maximum is 40% greater than the minimum. Part of our review when we get through that process is we go back and we compare what was the market average for each benchmark job and how does it compare to our calculated midpoints. And if something is, as Mr. Miller stated, if something, we have a big discrepancy, we bring that to the attention, but we still keep the pay grade assignment initially based on that internal equity score. And that's why Rebecca said, in our survey, the engineering positions that you have, our pay ranges are below the market. So the question is, in some places, if we have a pay grade assignment for classification and you can't hire anyone in that range, you have a problem. So that's why I think that the county may consider for engineering positions, we move them to Schedule B because of market competitiveness. And we did that initially when we first designed the plan for the IT department, is the competitiveness of the IT market in the region. So they have that separate schedule that typically averages 10% greater than Schedule A. And that has helped the county with IT jobs. And I think, as Sheba would say, part of what the county does a very good job of, you have a salary range, and when you do the initial assignment of salaries, you do a thorough analysis of that potential employee's background, their education experience, and you review salaries of all incumbents in that classifications. So you do a much better analysis up front in offering those beginning salaries with the policy that just because we have a minimum, that isn't where somebody has to be hired. You can offer salaries within that range.
Thank you very much for giving me that explanation. But the one thing that, did you use the bargaining units step raises as part of this decision-making process?
We're not addressing bargaining salaries. There were a couple classifications that PRC had us review, I'll say, of what is the range, what is the pay of the bargaining, and now where is the salary for the first supervisors, so that we don't have that compression between the two.
Thank you. And just very specifically, what I've been, as I'm doing my due diligence on this piece of legislation, some of the comments I've heard not in public testimony was because the bargaining units have gotten pay step increases throughout time, this is one way to catch up to that particular step raise for non-bargaining positions. Is that an accurate statement?
And I think that's where HR can come in through the offerings of the salaries and review. Where do the bargaining positions pay, and then how close is that to the pay grade and salary range for those supervisors? And they can offer adjustments within ranges.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to get a very specific, it's about information and sharing with everybody, all our coworkers, the real reality of this, because I've been hearing from some of my coworkers. So just on, is there a document that could be created that shows these are the step pay raises that you received, and this what it will be close to, or at equal, or plus or minus what we're asking for the non-bargaining today?
Well, first, I think Sheba can answer that particular question, but to your previous question, the one thing I want to say to you is that the PRC has been aware that this has needed to happen. The study has needed to happen for a long time. Generally, in organizations, you'll see a salary survey done every 3 to 5 years, somewhere in that range. It's been 17, and thankfully, we have a wonderful partner in HR who is willing to listen and willing to engage and to collaborate with us this time. The PRC doesn't, we're not oblivious to what's happening with bargaining units, but that's not our focus. Our focus has been fixing what we knew needed to happen with the pay grade structure for the classified non-bargaining employees.
And through the chair, I am applauding you and your efforts. 17 years is way overdue, and I am going to champion the 6.44 for the non-bargaining units. But I just have to be crystal clear in my own mind what it means compared to the bargaining units that are under contract. And I just want to be able to explain my vote and that's why I'm asking these questions.
So what I can say, thank you. So what I can say is that, no, we don't have a document to sit in front of you that says, over the years, bargaining units have this step, this step, this step, it's moved their pay grade this much, this much, this much. And then on top of that, there's a COLA. So they're also getting the COLA, where classified non-bargaining don't have that same step COLA. So it's out of step. To have an exact number of how much out of step or how much different, I don't have that. But we know that's part of the thinking, is that there's a step, a COLA, step, and how many steps there are. And for everyone else, maybe not. And so that's part of the thinking. Not all, but it does make a difference.
Mr. Chairman, if I can jump in here, I think we in law can help you answer the question. I don't have it at hand, but we obviously have a history of the pay schedules that are in the various collective bargaining agreements. You and I can talk and decide on 4 or 5 of these we can pick out and see where they've gone over the years.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. Just a couple more, I think. It's just the mindset of our coworkers. You know that the non-bargaining folks or the bargaining units are stressed out right now. What is happening? What communication have we had with all our coworkers in regards to this piece of legislation? Just for informational purposes only.
So we've not sent out a formal communication saying, hey, this is what we're thinking of, this is what we're doing. I mean, as I understand this process, it's something that we introduce, we bring to committee, we talk about, and then after, we get some sense of where we should go with this, we can provide communication, but there's not been this grand, hey, guess what we're doing, this is what's happening. We've not done that. We've conducted the study, we said that we would, we mentioned that last year, and that's been out there because it's, come before council and it's in minutes and things like that. But we've not done saying, hey, this is this study that's out there, we're doing that right now, stay tuned. So there hasn't been that kind of communication, if that's what you're asking me.
And through the chair, absolutely, that's how we normally do it, but this is a very, very sensitive one. It's in my eyes, at least. And as this legislation was introduced, just a thought that I would have is let everybody know what's happening, just information. This council, through our council president, transparency has been driven home ever since I've been here, open and transparent. And because we are in this building, we have coworkers from bargaining and non-bargaining, and the other building over there, and the other building over there. So that's just my hope that we'll have even the legislation emailed to all our workers. This is what we're talking about, so they can weigh in to their council person. Right now, I've gotten a mixed communications, and there's more than a couple. Normally you get 1 or 2, but when you get a sample of 10 to 20, everybody's thinking about it. And there's the folks that are mad at the unions. How dare I'm leaving the unions right now because I don't know everything about this. And that is problematic in my eyes. And there's the folks that are just going, oh, I'm not getting anything. I'm not happy. And that works on the mindset of our coworkers. So that's why I'm pushing a little bit to be 100% open, transparent, what we're doing, what the plan, because it makes so much sense what we're doing, but just getting the communication out there would be something I would strongly advocate for. And my last one, Mr. Chairman, is the partnership we have with our bargaining units, the unions that are out there. What communications have you had, just informationally, with them regarding this piece of legislation?
Kind of what I just said, that, we've not done a big, huge advertisement of this. It's public knowledge, it's, it's on your agendas, and it's been out there, but there's been no formal, communication, hey, this is coming, pay attention, and things like that. I mean, we can do that now.
I'm just talking through the chair, true partnership. I really believe when we get the executive session, collective bargaining updates, and listen to Nora present, it's a true partnership. They fight they argue back and forth at the end, we're together. And in a true partnership, I believe, a heads up to Local 860, hi, this is coming, be prepared for some comments, and this is what we believe is accurate. So we're going to try to control mode, not control, but answer questions that are unknown to people. And once people know it, I think it's going to be better. So I was on my soapbox a little bit here, but this is very, very important to me, and I don't want to have the mindset of our workforce in total not being in the best place it could be. So with that said, I'm going to relinquish my comments now and thank my chairman for giving me the opportunity to talk a little more than you'd like.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make a point regarding bargaining communications. Those are always confidential, and we do not, and by law, they're confidential, so we don't discuss strategies in public or between bargaining, non-bargaining, other bargaining units. That's all kept confidential.
And I
So
thought
that's the reason I would say that the director has said there hasn't been that much communication here, because the bargaining units come in every 3 years and negotiate their pays. So, you know, and that's not something that carries over to the bargaining units until we do a market adjustment like this. So just remember that those conversations, those negotiations are all kept confidential.
Through the chair to my law director, I thought I chose my words very carefully, and if I didn't, I apologize. I said Nora's name. That's about it, in my eyes. So I thought I kept it very confident. My bad. If I did something wrong, we'll talk about it.
And this is our public discussion, so this is, I can only assume many people are watching this, and if they haven't gotten the answers that they necessarily needed, they eventually will. So this is our process. So let me go to the council president.
Greg said what I was going to say.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Through the director, through the chair to whoever wants to answer, I guess. I guess the director. So what determined the 6.44 raise adjustment? Why was that number specifically picked? It could have been 5, it could have been.
So,
Ms. Marshall, microphone, please.
thank you.
Thank
So it was first based on the market study where we were out of sync with the market. It actually started at about 7.44%, but we're thinking about the increase for next year, the possible COLA for next year. And so we backed that off and went down to the 6.44%. But we actually based it on the data that we got back, that we received back from our market study.
And next question would be, have all of the compression issues been fixed in all departments with this new Schedule A?
I don't know that they've all been fixed. I know that they'll all be addressed. I mean, where we'd like to see a lesser compression issue, we're hoping that will happen. But I don't know that they're all fixed. And we'll look at that individually if we find that to be the case.
Okay, can you share that with, not now, but can you share that with the council?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
which ones have
And
not?
we can get that fairly quickly for you.
And then my thoughts overall for non-bargaining employees. I always thought, a rate increase, we have bargaining, and I support people that are in bargaining, but as a governmental agency, we should have always had that thought to make sure that they were kept in line. And I think and hope that's what you've been working towards for all of them to, even though they're not bargaining and they're not pulling together, that we're still being fair along the process for them, because their bills go up just like everybody else.
So one of the things that you heard me say earlier is that we're going to start trying to work together, bargaining units, labor relations, our compensation team, and human resources to do that. But things that I've read, I mean, I know Rebecca has spoke at several conferences. I've spoken at several conferences over the last 6 months or so, and we're all talking about how to keep salaries in line across the board. And they all say the same thing. Every 3 to 5 years, you ought to have a salary survey study done to make sure you're at market with your non-bargaining and unclassified employees. So it's something that we're looking at. We're not stopping the process here. We're saying this is a good first step, but we have things that we know we need to work on. And I ditto Rebecca's comments in having someone wonderful to work with who's on the same page and looking to do the same things. See that our employees receive a fair living wage for the work that they do, and that they value their work, and they enjoy coming to a job at Cuyahoga County. So it's all part of a bigger plan. This is just, I think, a great start.
In terms of the salary survey every 5 years, do you feel that that needs to be legislated so it can occur? I take it that we're utilizing Archer right now for that.
Yes, I do.
So it should.
I think that would serve the county well.
Okay. Thank you.
This Schedule 8 that we're planning to adopt, is there any plan to make routine inflationary adjustments to the schedule, or does this schedule remain exactly the same until the council again changes it?
Typically, I think Cuyahoga County does a good job of aging the pay schedule every year, in that it isn't exactly based on ECI and CPI, but there is an overall COLA increase. I know during the recession, you went 1 or 2 years without aging the schedule, as many governments did back then. But yes, you should have some kind of adjustment every year, and I think the county does a good job of that, with an eye toward what is a combination of ECI and CPI increases for the Midwest.
So when we give the employees a COLA increase, we also adjust the schedule accordingly?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. So let's say that you have a pay grade where the starting pay is $20 an hour, and the midpoint is $24 an hour, and the maximum is $28 an hour. And you have a new employee that comes in, and we follow the schedule, and being new, we start them at $20 an hour. And 10 years later, they'll be making considerably more than $20 an hour because there's been annual inflationary increases. But if that's all they received, they'll still be at the low end compared to all of the other employees. But they will now be a person that has substantial experience where lots of other people are long gone. And so my question is, for non-bargaining employees, do we have any process that's in any way similar to the STEP system to move people who have been around for a while and worked effectively more to a proper point within the range, as opposed to they start at the low end and they stay at the low end?
So currently, we do not. Right now, we follow that salary schedule, and they receive their COLA increase. They receive a COLA increase if they're a classified employee. If they're an unclassified, if they're moved in a promotion or they receive additional responsibilities. Right now, there's a way to address equity with equity and compression issues. But other than that, right now, we don't. I'm looking forward to that conversation, though.
And my related question is whether we're currently doing any performance evaluation where people receive changes in compensation that relate to formal measurement of their performance, as opposed to they just get the COLA and everybody gets the same thing?
Currently, I believe, not speaking to bargaining at all, but currently I believe it's they're receiving a COLA every year. I don't think we have a formal performance evaluation management system.
We're not
across-
doing any of that anywhere within county government
I
at
believe
this
we
time.
do it within, we do performance management, I believe, within HHS. I'd have to find that out for sure, just to make sure. But I don't think it impacts how they receive their COLA every year. It's a different amount than anyone else.
Understood. Okay, thank you. We have more work to do.
Absolutely.
Yes, we do. Well, those of us, many of us, were here at the beginning, and when the first administration came in, I told the HR director at the time, I said, you're going to have the most important and toughest job. And it certainly turned out to be just that, because when we came in, it was absolutely a mess. And employees, if Mr. Sweeney should know that I've never seen a workforce so angry, so beaten down. It was really a tough slog, and we got moving a little bit, and then we had in my opinion, not a very good director come in and screw things up royally. And to your credit, ma'am, you've come in here and calmed that down. We do have a long way to go, probably, and there's so many different ways to go with this, because having been an employee and people relying on that COLA, the worst thing that came in were people getting taken care of, shall we say, because of who they were or who they were related to, and that led back to the original discontent with all of our employees, because when we came in, we found people making massive amounts of money that had no business doing that. And we knew it, and if we knew it, the employees knew it, and if the employees knew it, therefore there was that tug of war with reality. So it was a very, very difficult time for the HR department. And like I said, we got going, we slowed down, and now we're going again. So I thank you for your work so far. And as Mr. Miller said, we have a long way to go. I don't think we'll ever have anything perfect, but in the world of the imperfect, this is right now a good direction. And I greatly appreciate these difficult questions that you dealt with today, which are something that the viewing public, who are employees, are looking for answers to. And I appreciate the answers that you've given to the best of your abilities. And anybody else have any for yes, ma'am?
Okay, I just wanted to, through the chair to the director, Marshall, can you just make clear to all the employees whether that this adjustment of 644, and I know this is the ordinance that we're going to do the modification, but it doesn't, we probably need another step in terms of actually making it happen, right? Or once the ordinance goes into effect, does that automatically?
I think because we're doing two things. We're approving the salary schedule to move A to the revised salary schedule, and we're asking for the allocation to make the adjustments to the hourly rates. I think that happens both in this.
Okay, so just heads up to make it clear to all employees that this 644, if it goes forward for non-bargaining, is solely to make up for comparable with the bargaining units. Because I've had employees already from yesterday's comment saying that, well, why should I be in a union? Mm-hmm. I might get out of the union because I want this 644. So I'm just saying that maybe we should make that clear that it's not going to happen every year. You're not going to get 644, but that why we're doing that, why it's a big bump, and that is to bring it up to standard so people can stay.
But it's more than a bargaining
Ms.
unit.
Marshall, microphone.
It's more than a bargaining unit. It's our employees haven't gotten, some of our employees haven't gotten steps along the way, and they haven't gotten increases. And they've been faithful. They've been here 15 and 20 years, and they're doing a good job, and they're overworked, and they're underpaid. And right now, I think what they want to know is that we're listening, that we hear them, and that we're concerned. And I think what they'll find, and in doing this, is this makes a difference. It's not solely so that we're not trying to one-up each other. Across the board, we want every single one of our employees to have a living wage, to be able to walk away, pay their bills, live a good life, take some family vacations, do whatever is necessary for them. And I think this is one step in saying, we hear you. But now, it won't stop there, because an employee will not stay just for money. We have to address the overwork. We have to address the policies. We have to address the morale. We have to address culture. All of that is part of the work that we have to do. This is just a good first step to say, we hear you, we're listening, and here's the first solution to a litany of things that we still have to do.
Okay, and maybe checking supervisors that are, you know,
You and I were in that meeting together.
Right,
We
keeping-
heard them.
keeping employees from progressing and all kind of issues that are going on. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know, make that clear, because I've already started to get texts about that.
And this
I
will
don't want
address
anybody
compression.
Jumping out
Yeah.
of unions, thinking, you know, so
Right,
thank you for
absolutely.
making that clear.
Thank you.
Just on that very specific,
Yes, sir.
if they jump out of the union, this is a very specific question. If they rescind themselves from the union, do they get the 6.44? And I think the answer is no, but I just want to be,
Greg, I'm looking to you for that.
Afraid of that. I'd have to look into that, because there's going to be issues with them doing union work and so forth that we'd have to clarify what would happen in that case.
yeah, I just need to know, because I'm going to get that question as well as my colleague, and I imagine my other colleague. So the sooner the better for that answer, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I think the answer would be no, they'd be crazy to leave, because this is a template for negotiations for the unions down the line. So either pay me now or pay me later.
I just want to be able to answer it accurately. That's
Yeah. A little lauder.
I'll find out as soon
Get
as I
that
can,
later
yeah.
for us. It is kind of a complicated question.
Yeah. I'll get back to you as soon as I
Or a
can.
complicated answer, I should say.
Right.
Mr. Law Director.
Okay. Anything further?
May I ask, is this where I ask, because I'm making a request that this be second reading suspension of rules, is this where I say that, or does that come down the rule?
Well, what's the necessity for
The
that?
necessity is the timeline. What I've done is I've gotten the payroll calendar. I've gotten the payroll calendar, and we have our pays coming up. And our next meeting, if this were to be approved, it would be at the second reading, which would be November 22nd. That allows us to first communicate the information. It allows our payroll team to put together all the payrolls that they need to get started working on, because we'll already be in the middle of a pay. And then it allows them, give them time to get this done and get ready, because what we have is called a perfect pay, December 26th, where we try not to do a whole lot of things to that pay. Then right in the beginning of January, when we start doing the COLAs, now we have that. And so we would have an issue of having them to process this pay and then a COLA and try and keep those separate and straight. And I think it's prudent, an easier way for us to get the information out, to tell the employees that we're going to do this and how, and it makes it easier for our payroll team.
Committee, what do you, Mr. President? You have a problem with
All right.
that?
Yes, I'll move that we recommend this resolution favorably with a recommendation for second reading suspension.
Do we have a second? Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Against? Thank you very much. It's been a great discussion on a very difficult situation, and hopefully this brings our employees more together in the end, and I think it will.
I do too. Thank you.
Thank you. Any miscellaneous business? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to state for being a recipient of actually having to sit home yesterday and hearing the budget sessions. It is very, and to Andrea's point, if someone is not speaking in front of that mic, we can't hear at home. And you're like, dang, I need to know that point. So I've just made it a point to make sure this is in the face. So I just wanted to give you kudos. I recognize from the other standpoint that it does make a difference if you're right up close. If not, it's kind of fuzzy. So that's
We
all
will
I'm saying.
adopt that as
Yes.
the Conwell rule. Rebecca, before we go, would it be helpful to memorialize every 5 years to do this study? It would. I'll leave that discussion to the president and the chairwoman, and hopefully we can move forward with that. Anything for, yes, sir? All done?
Thank you.